2-man, 1 vote says I must ask you, and they've asked this question repeatedly, ask the Honorable Mark Brantley if he is still an ardent supporter of secession for Nevis from St. Kitts. So, let me ask that now.
Every time I come on Freedom, perhaps
you get that question.
We need to do is you ask that question at the start.
Yes.
So that people don't need to bother, because it seems to me that people aren't listening, you know, or they perhaps feel that if they ask it 100 times, they're going to get a different answer. I have said, and my own conviction is that the people of Nevis, this is a decision for them to make. The relationship between St. Kitts and Nevis has never been a good relationship, in the sense that it has never been one based on equality and one based on fairness. And I believe the statistics are there. Recently, for example, on the SIDF funds allocation, we saw of $165 million allocated and or committed to St. Kitts and Nevis for developmental purposes. That's $3 million by way of loan was all that Nevis received at that point when those figures were released. $162 million, a lot of it by way of grant money, was what was to be spent in St. Kitts. And so that is a recent example where we can point to a lopsided allocation of the nation's resources. And that is what has always triggered the view and the feeling among divisions that, listen, we're not getting a fair deal. Now, my view is secession an issue that is important to the people of Nevis? I say yes. It is important to the people of Nevis, but it is for the people of Nevis to ultimately confront that issue, and just how I just said to you, Juni, about the overseas vote, have an open and honest debate about it. The NRP was the party that put the word secession into the lexicon of petitions and divisions. We understand the NRP was founded on the principle of secession at all cost. The NRP then joined with PAM to create the first federal government, and they have now latterly joined with Labour. Now, the question that remains, and is an important question, is really what is the position of the people of Nevis? The last time that this issue was brought to the fore, and went as far as the referendum, I believe it was in 1998, and it was the Honourable Vance Amory that put it on the floor for a vote by the people. The NRP, the new NRP as some call it, and they have called themselves that at times, led by Joseph Parry, campaigned against it. Moving away from their roots and their foundation, they campaigned against it, and the vote failed very narrowly. When you look inside the vote, Judy, you realize that it failed in places like St. Thomas's, the traditional NRP strongholds. And I think the valuable lesson that I have taken away from that, speaking for myself as an individual, is that this issue can no longer be a political issue. Because if one party says they want it and the other party opposes it, based on the nature of the support on the island, the issue will fail. It therefore means that this issue has to come from the people. And that is a very clear exposition of where I'm at and the way I see this issue unfolding. Can we work with St. Kitts? Absolutely. We can work with St. Kitts, but it has to be a relationship based on mutual respect and equity. Not to say that because St. Kitts have more people than us, we have less, so therefore we should get the same share. That is not the point. But when you have SIDF money of $165 million and only $3 million by way of loan coming to Nevis, I challenge anybody in the world, Juni, to support that and say that that type of allocation of resources is correct, and it makes the people of Nevis feel like they're equal partners in this federation.
So if the CCM were to get to power, would that be one of the things that you'd be looking at, actively looking at to enforce?
What would, in terms of what?
Secession.
No, the CCM has said very clearly that this is an issue for the people. And what we want to do is we want to create an environment where there can be a lasting discussion on this too, so that this issue doesn't keep popping up every election cycle. That there's a discussion on it, and that the people of Nevis at home and abroad, including the people of St. Kitts to some extent, because they too want to have a say. Many of them are descendants. And we're saying that, listen, have that debate, open, passionate perhaps, but let us ventilate it once and for all.
All right, 2 more questions.
Decision as to where we go.
All right, thank you so much for taking care of that. Now, 2 more